Hello, this is Dancingbear here.
And Koala.
For the more sensational listener, you have got Koala. So for the lowbrow listener, you've got someone like me.
What he means is dumb shit. So yeah, we're just trying our hand at podcasts and seeing what happens.
The pilot episode. So for those who have just happened, by pure coincidence, just happened to stumble on this on either YouTube or what's the site I've just logged in on? Spotify, yeah, it's a hard one to remember. Then you are in for a treat because this is the pilot episode.
Yeah, and we're really just going to talk about, in this pilot episode, just who we are, what our plans are, just a bit about us, really.
We're currently trying to work out the pros and cons. I think one of the major goals for me, especially in the first episode, is that try not to bullshit the listeners. We are who we are. We're nothing fancy. Yeah. And Koala Bear is currently sat in Dancingbear's garden. My actual name is Anthony Irvine. And if you don't mind me bringing up your name.
No, I'm just Tom.
Okay. He lives there. I'm joking. Get the fan mail at his address, please. No, I'm joking with you. So I think it's only fair, that we should tell the listeners what to expect from this channel and who we are as people. So, do you want to take this or shall I?
Well, it's up to you.
It's entirely up to you. It's as much your show as it is mine.
Well, I think just who we are. We're just two basically nobodies. We just wanted to do a podcast because anyone can these days.
Yeah.
And we just want to talk about
what we like.
Yeah, just nerdy stuff.
Basically, go on.
Nerdy stuff, sci-fi, Doctor Who, what's happening in the world, games, books, movies. A podcast 1 week could be as simple as what I had for dinner last night.
Absolutely. I think what started this off as well is we would be on the phone for hours at a time when we both finished work and whatever you are, and we'd sometimes be on the phone for 3 hours straight and we wouldn't realise. So the idea, I think it was your idea, to be honest with you.
And the conversations would get out of hand and into the realms of what?
Yeah, absolutely. And we both, more Tom more than me, I think it's fair to say he can take credit for this idea of us doing this. It's he believes that other listeners would enjoy our conversation. So we both decided and both concluded, why the fuck not?
Yeah. Quick disclaimer: there will be swearing in this, and
to a certifiable degree.
Maybe some humour that others may get sensitive to.
We aim to entertain. That is our foremost goal, not to offend. So, as a future disclaimer, if something I might have said, regardless of what it may or may be, and if you just happen to be offended, please don't. And if I do offend you, I probably don't know what the fuck I'm talking about. So, yeah, it's probably due to my ignorance. So, go on.
So, yeah, who we are. Well, we've been friends for what? 10?
I'm going to say 10 years. We've known each other, yeah, definitely.
We've known each other since college, when we were in the special class. Because we both had to redo English and maths. I'm not ashamed to say I am too brilliant for this world, and my qualifications didn't match.
I could spell fudge with my GCSEs, I believe. So, yeah. I got an F, I got a U, I got a D, I got a G, and I think I got an E somewhere. So, yeah, I didn't do too brilliantly at school. So, we went on this course because the people that went on this course wanted to redo the maths and English. Was it functional skills it were called, the course?
Yeah, functional skills. We did maths, English, and basic ICT because a lot of us had a good qualification in something, but with education how it is, if you ain't got that piece of paper that says you can spell the word bus, you ain't getting nowhere.
No, absolutely. So that's where I know Tom, and it's safe to say we had a circle of friends.
We did.
Little inside joke there. Should we share it with them briefly or leave that for another day? Maybe for later.
In fairness, our circle of friends included some of the tutors.
Yeah. The tutors was we went to Blackburn College. I don't want to name drop in case they might not appreciate it, but safe to say the tutors were very friendly towards us, weren't they? They had a lot of patience for us, especially with someone like me.
The best tutors I think in my school life I've ever had, just because they had so much time for us, and there were jokes, and it was weird for me coming from a high school area where the tutors and teachers were they were on high horses. They were so far up their own arse.
A lot of the time, yeah, you did get that. So Well, yeah, in terms of tutors and that at Blackburn College, I genuinely cannot fault them. I've got to be really honest with you at this moment in time. A spider just went on my neck, and I just put it on the table, and Koala over here just nearly ran to the opposite side of the garden. I think we need to
Opposite
explore
side
this.
of the garden. Opposite side of the bloody country. Nah.
Oh, not a
Like-
spider guy, are you not?
I love spiders.
Yeah.
I find them fascinating animals, and I appreciate all the good they can do.
Yeah.
But if they could do it as far away from me as possible, that'd be great. Like, I hate when... I love the look of spiders. I love everything about spiders. I love all that creepy goth, like, spidery stuff.
That looked quite gothic.
Yeah.
That looked like the type that'd listen to Nirvana, that spider.
Yeah, like... But if a spider could do its own business in its own spider house and not on my ceiling, it'd be great. Like, I just don't like them. They've got so many eyes, yet I'm nearly blind. They've got too many legs. What's wrong with a spider having two? A spider having two legs would be even more creepy, wouldn't it? If it just ran at you with people legs.
I think it should be noted as well, since we're talking about the wildlife of my back garden. I'm going to give Koala a little bit of a heads up here. The cats around this neighbourhood sort of use this garden. I don't know why. It's like it's a meeting place, I want to say, for lack of a better description, because there's a hole in the back fence, everybody, and basically cats from other streets use this garden to get to the next street, and it's quite interesting because you sometimes see cats interact. I don't want to try and come across like I'm David Attenborough or anything, because I'm not.
And
here we see my mum pop her head out asking if we've eaten or not. My mum just popped her head out not long ago, so...
Yeah, so, what were we talking about?
We'll talk
College,
about...
right?
Yeah, college. And
So college was a great time for both of us. But we've spoken about it a lot before. Because that year was a pretty good one in terms of just experiences.
See, yeah, it's bizarre you should bring that up, because I was only talking about it fairly recently, and I was talking about that particular year in college where we met up, and I think the best description I had was I enjoyed it for the wrong reasons. And what I mean by that, everybody, is I made some great friends, namely Koala, Tom over here, you know, and what I believe to be a strong friendship. Just great people, and... You know, a lot of the time, you know, I bear no shame in admitting this, is I messed about quite a bit in that year as well, but I still got a qualification, I still passed, so I couldn't have messed about that much. But to be fair, though, I did have a lot of help, so... Yeah,
you did, and the tutors had a lot of time, and in fairness, some of the tutors, if you messed around too much, I feel like you would have got your head put through a brick wall.
Yes.
These were not women to be trifled with.
No, there was one particular tutor, which all I'm going to say, she taught ICT. She was very... This is why I don't... Yeah, she was... And this is why I don't want to bring her name, because... But all I will say as well, she seemed to be more favourable towards the women in the class. Is that fair to say?
And when we say class, That's not what you're thinking, because when it started, it was a class. There was, 30 of us?
It started off about 35 to 40, yeah.
Out of, just over the year, we ended up with about 6 people. So the tutors, it was good because they had so much time for us. But unfortunately for them, it means they got to know our personalities.
Definitely.
And, I don't know, that's a blessing or a curse for some people.
I think, this is just going in the realms now of pure speculation. But when I look back, and I remember how they was...
make sure there's no spiders.
Yeah, no worries. And I look back at the tutors and how they was around us. I think in a way they were quite appreciative at how colourful our class was, because we started at 30 odd people. And within the first few weeks, people just didn't come back to class. So it just ended up being... It was about 8 of us, 9 of us.
Yeah, it was something like that. It was a really small class.
And we was, in all fairness, every single one of us, to say, were colourful in their own way. We were genuinely colourful people. I was larger than life.
I was quite random and loud.
Yeah.
There were times where you get the look of the teacher or the tutors, as they prefer to be called. And it's like, what are you on about? You know, when someone just looks at you and asks a question, Tom, can you answer this? Sorry, no, I was lost in thought. Why is Mary had a little lamb in the past tense? Like that was the sort of what happened to the lamb? That's sort of what I went on. But
it's funny we should bring this.
Quite random.
I don't know if I've annoyed Koala. I think he's quite too kind to admit it. But there's been a few conversations in the recent past where I've quite continuously brung up college, and he tends to have more of a eidetic memory, photographic memory.
Yeah, when it comes to college, I've got.
You seem to remember it pretty well, a lot better than I do. So this is why I bring it up. But go on.
But when it comes to college, that year was really good because I came from school, I did the college, and then I spent a year basically doing nothing through the job centre, which is hell, and then went into an office job. So it's not like my life really took off into amazing places.
You studied science the year after our course,
yes.
didn't you? I get the impression you didn't enjoy that as much.
No, I did. I loved science. I just had a run-in with a certain tutor. Won't go into it. But yeah, it was fun. I enjoyed working with the chemicals. I might have nearly blown up a science lab once or twice.
Oh, you're going to have to tell the listeners about that. You can't
I
leave
also
them
decided to find out what chloroform smells like, and it's got a subtle smell.
Subtle
Yeah,
smell?
so if someone ever comes up to me with one of them cloths and goes, "Hey, does this smell like chloroform?" Why, yes, it does. And then just walk off.
How in God's name did you ever come across chloroform? I know you were studying...
Well, we were doing a test, and chloroform can be used in many science tests. Off the top of my head, I can't remember. So
I keep thinking
it was just
on my arm. I don't want to scare you,
and the teacher was like, "Whatever you do, don't breathe in the gases." And I was like, "Oh, okay." And it does have a weird smell, doesn't it?
Oh, wow.
And sometimes, I mean, even though I can measure out things properly, if I'm told that something's going to explode or make sparks, well, that just turns on that little part in your brain that says, "Put more of it on! See what it does!"
Wow. Words can't fathom the ingenuity of wanting to smell chloroform, especially when someone specifically asks you not to smell it. But
yeah, well, just one of them things you do, innit? It's like, don't press the red button. First thing you want to do.
Press the red button. Yeah, I can sort of get that mentality because it's like saying don't think of purple elephants. I know you can think about a purple elephant.
Sorry, I was traumatised by Dumbo when I was a kid. Pink elephants are everywhere now.
Oh dear.
God, old Disney movies were terrifying. Sorry to go off on a tangent.
No, do you know what? It's funny you should bring that up, actually. I was having a similar conversation with someone. I think it was my ex-girlfriend, who will not be named. But no, she was a massive Disney fan, I think I can say. And
well,
one of her favourite Disney films was Beauty and the Beast.
See, that's one of my favourites as well. Just to throw that out there.
Well, I'm terribly sorry to have to do this, but I'm gonna have to tear one of your childhood films apart.
See, there's
now.
one part about it that I always wanted to see.
And I only came across this piece of information by pure chance. I was, as people do. I'm sure I'm not the only one. I'm sure many of our listeners do the same. You ever sat down one afternoon and you're just YouTube streaming? You're watching YouTube, one video, then the next. I was just doing that, and I stumbled across 15 Disney's Darkest Secrets. You ever seen it?
I know some of the dark things with a lot of Disney movies.
One of the dark things, I can't remember it word for word, but because bearing in mind I watched this quite a few years ago now, but I remember what they were saying is there's apparently a scene in the film where I can't remember the woman, the fancy woman in the film. What's her name? The one who ends up living with the Beast.
Belle.
Belle. We'll say Belle, and she accidentally stumbles upon a room full of smashed ornaments and smashed...
Yes. See,
right.
Now I want to know, when everyone was reverted back to normal, is that a room filled with cut-up bodies?
Yes. Now,
or were these furniture beforehand?
Exactly, because obviously, if for those who haven't seen the film strongly consists of people talking teacups. Is there even a talking clock?
Basically, the Beast was cursed because when he was a 7-year-old boy, mind you, in a castle alone with his servants, he refused to let a strange old woman in his house. So basically, the lesson from this movie that Disney are trying to tell you is, please, children, talk to strange old people and let them in your house.
Yeah, I mean, Disney films are quite weird for getting a distorted message across. I only say this because may Walt Disney rest in peace. Now, there was another secret.
I mean, he's frozen, isn't he? He can still be alive. Their head in a jar with tentacles.
But basically, you know Lemmings? You ever played the game Lemmings for Super Nintendo?
I know what you're going to say.
Yes, I think, have we talked about this before?
No, but I know it.
There was meant to be a film he made, wasn't there?
There was a educational documentary on like animals and things back in the, was it 50s or later?
Late 50s, I want to say.
Maybe. You can fact check it. But basically, they made up the myth and thing with lemons is that they commit suicide en masse together. Now, in actual fact, this is a lie, because a lot of the animals they showed in this Disney thing, they'd like, this is a polar bear in its natural environment, and it was just a polar bear in a zoo, or they'd forced it to do so. And some of the animals, to show them being mad, they literally would have someone run up and poke the animal with a pointy stick.
Wow.
But the lemmings, to show mass suicide, these things breed uncontrollably. So someone at Disney thought it was a good idea to essentially get a treadmill, pull it on max, put the lemmings on it so they fired out into the ocean. And they filmed the camera in such a way where you can't see this. So everyone assumes these are just little furry rodent animals running at high speed off a cliff together. And I'm just like...
That is dark.
That is bad.
That is bad. I mean, I presume these were the days before there was a WWF.
These were, and because of when it was filmed, it's actually past the statute of limitations on like them being prosecuted. But Disney isn't. I don't want to be attacked by the Disney ninjas, but they have done some questionable things.
Oh, we're going to get attacked anyway.
Did you ever hear about how they actually made Disneyland?
I don't know. You
Right.
see more again. I should say, my mate Tom, my colleague, I think is the best way to
Yes.
describe it at this point. It's very informative. So I think this is from my perspective, at least. Anyway, why I enjoy these conversations with him because
I just pick up random facts. But
yeah, go on.
Anyway, the point with Disney is when they were making Disneyland, the big one is it Florida?
Yes, Disney
Yes.
World.
So
Yeah,
Disney
I've been
World-
there, just to put it out there.
Yes. Well, Disney didn't want anyone knowing they were doing this. So what they did is they made several shell companies that have nothing to do with Disney, and they started buying up all the land in the area in bits and pieces.
Right.
So no one could say, oh, Disney is buying up all this land, and Disney is buying, everything. They must be doing something big. I'm going to buy this one in the middle and sell it back to them. So no, it just looked like randomly loads of companies buying land in this area. No one knew what it was, and then the curtain comes off, and Disney owns everything, and all these little companies suddenly get shut down, and they get full rights to start making Disneyland.
Sorry to cut you off there, but it brings up a question, doesn't it? Of it's a question people don't want to ask, but they're toying with the idea. Now that question is: does Disney, the multi-billion company that has so much influence in the filmmaking industry now, does Disney and the world? Yeah, I thought I'd bring that up. I do apologise. Does Disney, now this is a question you've got to ask yourself, listeners, does Disney have ulterior motives? And if they do, are any of those motives sinister?
Well, just because I know a bit about the past, I know that there's no way around. Walt Disney himself, on occasion, was a very, I want to say, nasty man sometimes. Like, everyone knows the famous cartoon character Betty Boop. You know Betty Boop?
Yes. Wasn't...
Betty Boop was a cartoon from a rival company around the same time as Disney.
Right.
And what Disney did, when they couldn't beat them, they just tried harder. And Walt Disney drove the man that was making all these cartoons. And there were loads, but Betty Boop is the only one to survive in pop culture.
Yeah.
Disney basically bought all the buildings around it, bought all the companies around it, bought the printing press that made the cartoons, and then bought the company itself once they'd broken the man.
That is... wow.
I mean, you don't mess with Disney. So, in more recent news, what the fuck is Sony playing at?
I'm glad you brung that up. I'm really glad because we've talked about it quite frequently now. What is going on with Spider-Man? Now, this is what I understand. I know you're a lot more knowledgeable about this, but
I've been looking up.
Yeah, this is what I understand. Spider-Man originally, obviously, is a Marvel creation.
Yes.
However, Spider-Man now, for whatever reason, Sony has certain rights to Spider-Man, but because of recent events that Sony are refusing to share the character, the franchise Spider-Man with Marvel, Spider-Man is not allowed, I want to say, for lack of a better word, to be part of the MCU universe anymore. Now, from my perspective as a fan of Marvel, to me, and obviously I am aware that there's a lot more to this than meets the eye, but the only way I'm interpreting this is Sony are throwing their toys out of the pram. What is going on, Tom? What?
Well, so basically, Sony own Spider-Man the rights and all related characters to the Spider-Man universe. And when Universal, Marvel and Disney went to Sony and said, look, we kind of want Spider-Man, they were like, yeah, you can have Spider-Man. So Spider-Man was on loan to the MCU, to Universal, to Disney, to Marvel, to appear in some movies. And then obviously he got his own movie and he became much loved because Tom Holland is a beloved actor. Like, he's suddenly become so loved by, especially like the lady folk, because apparently he's quite cute. I mean, I don't see what...
Well, I've got to be honest with you. I'm a bisexual man. Tom Hardy's never really done it for me. I enjoy Tom Holland, rather. He hasn't really done it. I do apologise. Neither of them do it for me, just to put it out there, funnily enough. But no, Tom Holland, personally, myself, doesn't really do it for me.
But he looks like a child.
Yeah, he does. He does.
But, I mean, he's actually the same age as us.
Is he?
Yeah, everyone assumes he's 16. He's 24, 25.
Yeah,
But, problem is, he is from, I think he's from, like, around the York area. He's, like...
Yeah.
So, he's not got that going for him. But anyway,
I thought he was in his early 20s, to be honest with you.
We're in our early 20s.
I'm 26. So, technically,
Don't make me feel old.
I'm in my mid-20s. I'm sorry. With my friend Koala over there, I only say Koala this time because I keep mentioning Tom. That seems to be the theme of all the Tom Hardys and the Tom Hollands.
Tom's are great.
But sadly, Koala is still coming to terms with his age because you're 25 now.
But
it's getting to us, man. Go on.
Back to the Spider-Man thing. So there's been obviously several reports and the internet spiraled out of control. So I've seen a few news stories, but no one... At first, it was just Sony have said that Disney and Universal can't use Spider-Man in the MCU anymore for reasons, and it was apparently that they couldn't reach a deal. Now, as far as I understood, Sony was getting quite a good deal money-wise with the splits because they still own Spider-Man.
Yeah.
So they were still getting certain rights and royalties from the movies.
Right.
And they still owned all the merchandising. So... Well, I think they own the merchandise, and that one might not be
so
true.
What I mean to say...
So one report I saw, which was from IGN, which I take with a pinch of salt, is apparently Sony have turned round and said that the reason Disney have turned around and said that the reason Spider-Man's not going to be in the MCU anymore is to take some of the workload off the head of Marvel, Kevin Feige.
Yeah.
Which I think is... to pardon the French, absolute bollocks. Like, taking one character off someone is not going to lower the workload when the movies are already in production.
Yeah.
Like, they'd already, I think, started working on Spider-Man 3, or were just about to film it, the third movie with Tom Holland, and removing him will set these movies back, because the plan has already been made. Like, he was going to appear in a new Avengers as part of a main team. He was going to be the hero that they... Obviously, being young, they can beat a couple more movies out of the little shit.
The fact of the matter is, I mean, to say the great tool with storytelling is that you can always explain away a missing character, or if an actor playing that character sadly dies. But the point of the matter is, I'll be honest with you, Spider-Man's never really been a particular favourite of mine in terms of superhero films, but he was an intricate part of the MCU. I mean, he's if he was as bizarre as this is, this comparison, this euphemism.
I mean, he's a street level hero, isn't he?
He's one of the lads that the Avengers. He's I don't want to say one of us, but it's like one of your mates who you usually go to the pub with and with a group of friends.
Now your mum says he's grounded. Nah. But also you got to look at it. You don't. Right, if there's a robbery going on in like a bank on a corner, you don't send in the Hulk.
No, you don't.
They don't really have many street level heroes in the MCU at the minute. But getting back to more of the point was, so Disney have said they've done it for the workload.
Yeah.
Sony have said they've done it because they failed to reach an agreement on the deal. Other people are saying they've got reports of it's they can't reach the two companies. These two monolithic companies can't reach an agreement on the deal. I don't know what to believe.
Well,
there's too much. I mean, obviously, after this, there will probably be after we finish this podcast, I bet the real news comes out and we just look like we're just not getting it.
We're
that's how
just
it
going to
works.
look dated. Yeah, but because news of this nature tends to come very quick.
Yeah.
And
obviously with something so big, because it's one of them, again, the fans are caught in the middle.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm just getting
Like-
closer.
Imagine having to be that parent and you've got to explain to your child that there will be no more Spider-Man movies with this actor, or Spider-Man's probably going to change how he looks again, or Mummy, why can't Spider-Man go and hang out with Iron Man anymore? Well, you see, now let me explain business and corporate law to you, little Timmy.
The fact of the matter is, I wanted to ask you a question as well. Mind out, there's a chopper overhead.
Yes.
Probably one of Disney's lackeys.
Oh God, they're coming!
They're coming already because we're exposing the truth about Disney. No, regardless of what I said before, I still stand by. But with all due respect, I'm standing by Disney on this. What options have Disney got? Say if Disney struck up an ultimatum, a big plan as it were, to try and still maintain Spider-Man within MCU, because he's obviously always going to be a part of it now because of continuity.
Well, he's also,
you can't dismiss that.
When it comes to Spider-Man, he's one of the most valuable Marvel properties there is. I mean, as last I heard, Spider-Man and the franchise and all related characters to just that one character is valued at over $1 billion.
So
this is big money.
Yeah. So would you say Marvel or Disney even? What are their options at this moment in time?
I think they need the only other options is obviously for people more business minded than us. I mean, we're just two nobody sat in a garden.
Two northern lads in a back garden discussing the facts of life. You're northern enough. You've been here long enough.
Yeah.
I should explain, Tom. If you don't mind, I was going a little bit in your life.
I'm from the proper part of the country, you know.
He's lived better here than everywhere in the country, haven't you?
Oh yeah. We've moved around lots and lots. So my accent, in case we get any comments or anything, yes, my accent will change.
Amalgamation of all.
I can't help it. I have moved house 15, 16 different times. I've picked up the accent gradually going up north. So, it's just an amalgamation, but Disney, their only option is just another sit down in a meeting, and if that doesn't work, obviously Sony's just going to get killed.
Well, this is why I stood by my original statement. Is you got to put into consideration as well, for those who don't know, wasn't Sony still making money? Wasn't Disney giving Sony a percentage?
Yes,
every time Spider-Man was in the MCU movies.
It wasn't that Disney or Universal now owned Spider-Man. He was on loan. So imagine, for anyone else trying to understand it or get their head around, Spider-Man was essentially the same as a football player on loan to an enemy team or to another team.
Yeah.
That's all it was.
Best way to describe that, I suppose.
Yeah.
But what do you do once you've got this player on loan? And I'm not saying if we're going to use the whole football euphemism there.
Yeah, because I know nothing about
What happens when that player not necessarily becomes the only good player in your team, but an intricate part of your team, and sort of the club, if we're using this euphemism, would lose greatly by losing him? What's the best plan is basically what I'm trying to get at. Should Marvel, should Disney just grit their teeth and get on with it? Are they helpless, or do you reckon Disney will ultimately find a way around it? Because we discussed briefly a couple of days that Disney can't buy certain properties, like we'll talk about Fox, and because of laws of trying to avoid them becoming a monopoly.
Yeah, see, there was a thing with that. They were allowed to buy Fox, but they weren't allowed to get all the news things associated with it, because Disney itself, it owns some 200-300 companies. For those that don't know, when you were ever grown up and you saw a Disney movie and a DreamWorks movie and were like, oh, I hope DreamWorks wins, or I hope Shrek's better than whatever, Disney owned DreamWorks. So it's this, they make it look like they're going against each other companies, when really it's just one company making it look like that just to drive up sales.
Wow.
It'd be like if Sony owned Xbox as well.
Yeah.
So it's a weird one, the way businesses work, but I mean, it gets us, doesn't it?
See, I kind of want Disney to buy Sony now, but only because of the fanboy side of me. Just out of spite, yeah. End of the day, if you're going to throw your toys out the pram, especially in a capitalist world, eventually you're going to get caught in the wind, if you know what I mean by that expression.
But the thing is, as well, just popping into my head, and I don't want this podcast to have any political things in a lot.
No, we'll try to avoid the political aspects.
But when it comes to Sony and Disney, what country is Disney based in?
America.
What country is Sony based in?
I genuinely don't know. I was going to say America originally.
It's Japanese-Chinese company.
Is it? I didn't know that. Call me an idiot.
So, and we don't know if this might. No, this is just me throwing out random ideas.
Oh, way up controversial waters.
Yeah. Well, Trump's been going after a lot of Chinese companies, hasn't he? So
do you reckon they're linked in any way?
Well, it could be just a deal breaking down, or it could be Disney going, "Oh, we either get all of Spider-Man, or we're going to have to stop trading with a Chinese company, just for the time being." Hopefully, that's not the case.
So do you reckon? I mean,
you've heard about that news, haven't you?
I have heard very, very, very briefly. So do you reckon, like, this could be a diplomatic disaster? I mean, we're toying with the idea, so we might as well bring it up.
Yes, it could be, but I also think Spider-Man is more of an integral part of the superhero world, for the simple fact is, like, obviously he wasn't important to you growing up, but me growing up and also seeing it now, Spider-Man is the only teenage superhero in there.
Yeah.
He's the only one that a teenager or a kid or something can identify with. He's got the weird issues in schools. He's the nerdy one. He gets bullied. Even though he's got all this amazing power, he's got weird friends. He's just a kid.
Yeah.
That happens to have superpowers. Whereas Iron Man is like an alcoholic millionaire, and Captain America is some dude from the 40s. But I mean,
one that my mum can relate to.
Yeah.
No.
I mean, I would have loved to have seen the scenes of like Captain America walking into the doctors and like a woman come out and is like, "Yeah, when's the real doctor get here, sweetheart?" You know, because he's from that era.
Yeah.
Like, he would.
Absolutely, yeah, no, and I was going to make a very valid point that even though I didn't necessarily enjoy, but I wasn't overly keen on Spider-Man's character in my youth, it's safe to say that ever since he's become a part of the MCU, I've gotten to appreciate him more, and there's not one movie with Tom Holland in it that I haven't enjoyed. I think what the MCU have done with Spider-Man is actually incredibly clever, and I'll tell you why. It made Spider-Man. Yes, that as well, but it made him relevant again, if that makes sense, because they put him with the Avengers, they put him into a mainstream audience, so people like me that wouldn't normally go to Spider-Man are now going to him. This I think, this is just my speculation. I could be right and I could be wrong, but this could partially be the reason why this has kicked up a fuss, because a lot more people. Spider-Man's getting more attention now. No one can deny that.
Spider-Man has always been attention, but I also think Spider-Man, if you look at when he first showed up in Civil War and Avengers and everything, I found him quite he was the allegory of the audience. He was, "Oh wow, it's Captain America. Oh wow, oh my god." You know, he was fanboying over everyone.
Yeah.
Like he was that excited child, like, he steals Captain America's shield, and he's like, "Oh my god." Stops a robot arm, and he's like, "Wow."
I never enjoyed Tobey Maguire's performance in Spider-Man. Now, I'm not saying he's a bad actor, but
Spider-Man I've liked, but because of that cartoon in the 90s. And my favourite part about Spider-Man has always been, Spider-Man may not be the best character, but the part of Spider-Man that I love, and a lot of other comic fans love, is he may not be the best, but he's got some cracking villains. He's got,
he does.
You think of Batman, you only ever think of Joker. You think of Spider-Man, you've got Dr. Octopus, Green Goblin. Then everyone thinks of multiple.
Yeah, no, I do understand where you're coming from in that. It took I had to swallow a bit of a bittersweet pill there, because you compared him to only one memorable villain of Batman is the Joker, when you've got Two-Face, you've got the Riddler. Sorry, I'm fanboying here at this point.
But you know what you mean.
Yeah, the Joker's the most memorable.
He's the arch enemy, but Spider-Man, I think officially Spider-Man has 8 or 9 arch enemies.
I thought the main Spider-Man villain, though, was either the Green Goblin or, do you know what I mean, the most memorable villain.
The most memorable to most people, especially these days because he's relevant, is Venom.
Yeah, Venom's a good villain.
Venom's had a weird one, because he started out as a villain and he slowly turned into an anti-hero. Yeah.
Fair enough.
But
I don't know my mythology that well in terms of Venom. I know, obviously, he's recently become relevant again because of a certain movie.
And they've restarted him.
Yes.
The thing that everyone forgets about Marvel and comic fans, which annoys me, is, especially comic fans when they do this, is when they try and talk about Marvel canon. And you've got to stop and think, well, which one are you on about? Because
There's about 50, isn't
yeah,
there?
the Marvel universe resets every so often. Same
Right.
with the DC. Like, the ones that I grew up reading, like, the MCU movies are actually a combination of the Ultimate Marvel universe, which is when they tried to make Marvel current in the early 2000s,
Right.
and they made it a lot more cinematic, and a combination of like older Marvel stuff, all of which Stan Lee basically had nothing to do with.
Right.
And then you've got the Marvel universe, which I grew up reading. I grew up reading the Ultimate Comics, and I grew up reading the Marvel universe, which ran from 1994, when everything started to come back, till I think about 2015.
Right, I'm with you. I was also going to say as well, did DC do the same thing?
DC do the same quite a lot.
Because I only
They-
ask because I always got the
In-
impression with DC that they're sort of stuck in certain in a certain. Because when I watch Batman programs, especially Gotham,
Yes.
it seemed to be stuck. Now I love Gotham. Now this isn't me knocking it at all, but when I watch Gotham, it seemed like it was 20 years behind. Now, I'm not talking about the concepts or the storylines. I'm not talking about anything like that. But the setting. Now, they were clever how they did it because they didn't specify a time where it was meant to be based. But the way the phones they were using, the characters were using, it seemed like it was 20 years ago. So
Yeah, I think that was the initial plan.
Right.
Because obviously, it's hard to keep a canon when you're supposed to have a character that's always set in modern time and never ages. You end up with just The Simpsons.
yeah, see, I think it's clever how Simpsons do it. They have like a little soft reboot every 5 or 10 years, don't they? See, I
Yeah, so
enjoy
it's-
that. So they made the canon quite fluidic in terms of like they give it a soft reboot every so often, and yeah, it's a bizarre one because when you talk in terms of continuity and superheroes, in terms of especially DC and Marvel, it's a lot. I think a lot of people, including me, can be quite confused as to where's the start, where's the beginning, where's the end, and which ones they start because there's so many origin stories out
Yeah.
there. Do you know what I mean?
There is, and that is a hard thing to try and explain to people. But with DC are doing a weird thing. They reset their universe every couple of years, more so than they should. And I've heard rumours that DC themselves as a company is struggling.
Yeah.
Like, they've changed their logo about 9-10 times within like these past couple of years.
Sorry about the background noise. That was a bike.
Yep. And you've had a reboot, I think from about 2012, called The New 52, which, if anyone wants to read DC, New 52 is a good place to start. Or, after The New 52, they rebooted again and they called it Rebirth, which is apparently a good place to start. I haven't read any of them myself.
Fair enough. That's fairly. See, my colleague, I got to get used to using that term. He's
Yeah.
very knowledgeable about comic books. I mean,
Not very, but I've
well,
read
more
one or two.
knowledgeable than me. I think it's safe to say. Whereas I've got to be honest. I was never into comic books when I was young. It just genuinely wasn't my thing. I enjoyed science fiction programs. I enjoyed Doctor Who, but in all honesty, I think I can name drop him. I'm sure he wouldn't mind. I'm not going to use his full name. One of my best friends called Adam. About 5 years ago, I want to say, he just kept watching Marvel films quite continuously, and I think he gave me a sort of resurgence into not necessarily passion, but an interest.
See, when it comes to Marvel, it's hard to. Some of the issues and stuff, it is crap. But if
Would you
anyone
say it's an issue? Sorry to cut you off there. Would you say it's an issue now, canon itself?
with Marvel, yeah. So if anyone wants to pick up Marvel, you have one timeline that goes from 1994, called The Hero's Return, and that goes up until 2015, and that's got your events like your Civil Wars and your Original Sin and all that
Right.
stuff, and X-Men versus Avengers. And then after that, Marvel did something from, I think, 2015 called Marvel Now, and that is a good place for anyone to start as well. It makes it more current, and then that goes up to a new Rebirth where you start getting like all the Captain Marvel coming in more, and X-23 and it got too, without making lots of it, comics just got too politically correct, including like DC. So I read the ones that I grew up reading, and I'm slowly getting into other ones.
Is that the 94 to 2015 timeline?
Ones. And then I'm trying to fill in my gaps with DC. But I will get to modern ones. It's just I haven't read enough catching up to that point.
Yeah, so if you don't mind me asking, I know it's sort of like I'm sort of asking you to jump to the last page question here. How did the 94, in case you don't want to know, spoiler alert, so just pause it and just skip about a minute or so. But I just want to know how the 94 to 2015 timeline ended, like... So what happened to this? Did it have an ending, or was it very much up in the air?
It basically was just like a soft reboot.
Right.
There was it was basically just a soft reboot, but then after that,
very much like Star Trek then, what they did.
After the soft reboot, there was a big event in Marvel that basically destroyed everything. It reset the entire Marvel universe. Many heroes died permanently. It was loads of Marvel universes sort of mashed together. You had like the Ultimate Universe, which for those that don't know, Thor currently in the MCU, not Dad Bod Thor, when he's got the black armor and the hammer axe, he looks damn near identical to how he does it in the Ultimate Universe. Right. In the Ultimate Universe, he is a bumbling idiot. For the first few Avengers things, there's actually debate on whether he actually is a god or is he just some nut job with a hammer.
Wow.
when I think it's Tony Stark opens up the hammer and he finds it's technology. There's no magic.
Yeah.
So he just seems to be this really strong alcoholic nutter that has a hammer. And then it is turned out later that he is a god.
Yeah.
And he's a reincarnation of a god.
Wow.
So it's a weird one, and it is good, but yeah, no, Marvel, they have I think it's called Secret Wars off the top of my head.
Right.
Or Secret Empires or something, but basically it resets the Marvel Universe. Lots die.
I should say as well, if anyone has any questions, because this will be uploaded onto YouTube, on the comment section in terms of Marvel, please feel free to ask. My esteemed colleague over here.
Also, don't, because I am not actually an expert. I just read some every now and then.
If you don't know the answer, you can just say you don't know the answer.
Yeah, I know a lot about sort of maybe current Marvel, because as everyone knows, Natalie Portman is going to be playing Jane Foster's Thor, which is an interesting thing. And if anyone wants to catch up on that, it's a fantastic comic writer called Jason Aaron. He started writing Thor, he took off, and he did amazing.
Are you a Natalie Portman fan?
No, she's like a house brick.
Oh, thank God for that, because I was going to say something so snide then.
I don't think... And the villain they're apparently putting her with is a villain that first showed up, funnily enough, in Jason Aaron's comic. And this was a villain that was a match for Thor. This was a villain that was a match for many, many gods. And I'm supposed to sit there and believe that he's going to show up in this movie and Natalie Portman
I'm not going to
him?
lie. It was, sorry to cut you off there, but it's a very similar conversation to what I had with my mum yesterday. And I'm not going to lie to you, Tom. Kirsten Dunst, what's the one we just mentioned then? Natalie Portman. No, I'm not attacking them personally because they're probably genuinely nice people in real life. But they just bore the fuck out of me. It's like, no, I'm not even kidding. They just do. I've tried. What's the film Natalie Portman got into in a film? It was about Virgin on 10 years old now, where she was it the Black Swan?
Black Swan, yeah.
What? That is an hour and a half, 2 hours of my life I will not get back.
But the same thing, I don't think we're the target demographic. I think she played a good sort of like girlfriend or like female lead in the Thor movies.
Yeah.
But I can't see her, no offence to like her act. I mean, she could pull it off because, as everyone knows, like when someone's about to go into a superhero role, don't ever knock them. But do you think she can pull off being Thor?
No.
Like a female version?
I'm sorry, ladies and gents, and anyone who's a fan of Natalie Portman, please be aware as well that these are my opinions and my opinions only. If you enjoy them type of films, if you enjoy Natalie Portman, then fair enough, fair play. You enjoy them, and I hope I don't take any enjoyment
And
away from
what
you.
I want to say as well is, I don't think she can do it, and but I want her to, because as everyone...
You
like,
want her to succeed.
When Heath Ledger was first announced to be the Joker, everyone turned around and went, what? That dickhead from, like, romantic comedies. Nah, he'll never do it. He's going to be terrible. Oh, what? Him from A Knight's Tale?
But Heath Ledger didn't bore me, though.
Yeah,
sorry, just... I know what you're saying.
Heath Ledger being the Joker... Nah. And then it turns out he pulls this fantastic...
One of the best performances going, and I completely
the
agree with
Joker.
that. And Natalie Portman might be able to do the same, but...
Yeah, but so... For actor-wise, I don't like judging people when they go into superheroes.
And if I've given that impression, I genuinely do apologise, because don't misinterpret me. I hope Natalie Portman does a fantastic job.
I mean...
But I think on this one, seeing he's truly believing...
Robert Pattinson, Twilight dude?
Yeah, I like him. I know a lot of people knock him, but I've always liked him.
He was getting a lot of knock because he's going to play Batman.
Yeah.
And my first thought is... Oh, Robert Pattinson. Then I'm like, no, could be like Heath Ledger. He could be like, right, I get to pull my proper acting skills out the bag and I get to play a beloved character.
I think he'll pull it off. And I'm not just trying to sound biased here. I genuinely think he will pull it off.
It depends who he's acting with, though.
Yeah. Who could you imagine playing Alfred? Like Jeremy Irons played...
Jeremy Irons was probably my favourite Alfred, just because he was so British and so passive-aggressive. I loved the passive-aggressiveness of him. Oh, like, you know, when he makes a joke about it's something like the wine cellar, it's like, oh, drinking from the Wayne's wine cellar again. There won't be anything left for the next generations, if there's even going to be any.
Yeah,
you know?
But I think, to be honest with you, in that, especially in Batman vs Superman and the Justice League films, Jeremy Irons just played an exaggerated version of himself, didn't he? Really?
Yeah, like he was Uncle Scar. That's all he's ever going to be.
Uncle Scar, definitely. So I think we should. Change the subject ever so slightly. How's your week been then? Have you had a good week or?
Yeah, it's been alright. And there was an interesting piece of news that I just wanted to squeeze in here sometime. Now, let me just set the scene. Has there ever been a product from a company that you have loved and then time has moved on and you assume the company has forgotten about this? And then they bring out something new for this product.
That's never happened to me. No, I've got to be honest with you.
Right, well, in strange news yesterday, the Xbox 360 got an update.
Yeah. Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
After being... I mean, the Xbox One and PS4, this new generation of consoles...
Yeah.
That's nearly 2 generations old. So for a console that was made 13 years ago...
Was it really that long ago?
Yeah. Xbox 360 came out 13 years ago.
Fucking hell.
That is weird. I mean, apparently it's only minor bug fixes, but the fact that Microsoft still support this and still know that we play it...
I think, to be honest with you, again, this is just speculation off my own back, but I think they've realised maybe how popular to this day the Xbox 360 is, because I know a lot of people that still play the console. Xbox 360. I don't know. I mean, I know this is pure speculation, but they've done that a couple of times with the PS1, didn't they? Well, not necessarily the console itself, but look at the games that came out.
Retro gaming is alive and well, and obviously people like myself, we still like getting physical games. But it's getting harder and harder to play the older games. But the 360, even though a lot of people had the red ring of death, it was a power horse of a console. And if you look at it, if I want to go and play a PS4 or Xbox One, I put in a disc, I wait like 20-30 minutes for it to install, and then you've got update times. If I want my big dumb box to do what I tell it. I put in a disc, I play the game. That's it. You know, you are doing what I fucking tell you. You know, I go and turn on my PS2, disc in, shut, play the game, yay, I'm having fun. I'm playing GTA Vice City, which sometimes feels like your hometown because you've played it so long.
Yeah.
Like...
Definitely.
I can do that map off the back of my head. Like Vice City was mine and probably one of my mum's favourite games. Like, never let my mum get a driving licence, please.
Oh,
if the DVLA is listening, my mum would never. But you know.
Bloody hell. So I think it's only for our potential listeners so they know that we're people too in a bizarre way. What plans do we have for this channel? Where do we want to take
now,
this?
Now we're getting to the end. So the plans personally for me, I just want to see where this goes for a couple of weeks. Obviously, we've introduced ourselves. We've spoken about a couple of weird things. We've gone off on one. we're not going to be structured. In fact, when we record, we don't even have a plan. We talk for about a minute on maybe what we are going to direct it to, what I'm going to direct it to, what Irvine's going to direct it to.
There is no script here, ladies and gentlemen.
No
script. But if, and I hope you don't mind me saying this, if any of you have any suggestions maybe on what to say, any questions you would like to ask us, feel free in the comment section. I'm on Spotify as well. I'm relatively new to that app, so I don't know if you can make a comment and make a suggestion on Spotify, can you? But no, if anyone on YouTube, which is my main activity, that's where I usually go. If any of you have a suggestion, please feel free, and we could have a segment where we'll be reading out suggestions and answering questions. By all means, I don't mind doing that at all.
We don't. If obviously this takes off and gets somewhere, the plan is we're going to record once a week and upload maybe on a Saturday.
Absolutely, yeah. Sorry, listeners, I'm just having a crafty fag.
So uploads on Saturday, record once a week, pull it out, and just keep to a regular time. So, and with putting it on Spotify or on YouTube, there will just be like artwork, so it shouldn't take up too much data if you've not got Spotify. But just listen to it as you walk to work, and we really do appreciate feedback.
Absolutely. That's the main goal. That's for listeners that might be driving to work, or might be walking to work, or might be just going around town, and you're waiting for a friend, and you're just putting those earphones in, and just the theme that I'm trying to create, the atmosphere that I want to create is you're one of the mates, you're one of the lads, you're one of the ladies. Yeah, we're not being gender specific here.
Ladies, gentlemen, who knows yet to make up their mind.
You're one of us. You're just chilling out for an hour and just talking about random things.
Like, just stick us on in the background if your house is quiet. Like,
if you're cleaning, maybe, definitely, absolutely. Because I listen to a lot of podcasts, a lot of ruminations, a lot of reviews. Do you want me to? I'll put my fag at a distance, and it helps me especially when I'm cleaning around the house, when I'm tidying my room. I like to listen to something that engages me. I think this is one of the main reasons actually why I've done this. So a lot of people have sort of done a service to me. I want to give something back. As bizarre as that sounds.
I mean, if just one person smiles because like we're just being us, or enjoys listening to us, I'm quite happy. 2 people, I'll be over the moon. 5 people, well, that's it. Fame's gone to my head.
Yeah.
I don't think anything like that.
He'll expect me to ask him for an autograph, ladies and gentlemen.
Sorry, I won't listen. You're beneath me. But no, over the next couple of weeks, we're just sort of we're gonna find our style. We're gonna upload. We've got intros and outros, like music-wise, come in, and artwork on the way. So, we're getting there slowly.
We're getting there. We're getting what we wanted to do. Now, before we get off sordidly off subject, we had a minor dinner break, folks, and Koala, or Tom, as I think he prefers to be called, had a story to share with us.
I'm just Koala, just throwing it out there, because Irvine was already Dancing Bear on YouTube, and for the artwork we had the Dancing Bear sat down and then on the sofa, and next to him it was like, well, do we just put a person? So I just said a koala bear because I'm shorter than him and it would fit the theme of 2 bears.
Definitely. And he looks kind of like a koala too.
Not a lot of thought went into that, right? So just anyway, what was my story?
Something, do you want to share with our potential audience?
About a week ago, maybe 2, I saw a news article. I think it was The Sun, on my phone, and it was a bride hates her husband's best mate now because at the wedding, while he was the best man, he shit himself. His bowels did evacuate all over the place while at the altar. Now, dear. Can you imagine that situation? Can you imagine being at like your best mate's wedding, or like you're at a family wedding or something, and You may
relieve yourself.
You may now kiss the bride. And there's just like a trail on the floor, and your best mate looking there like, I am so sorry. Like, she said the wedding was ruined, and you know what? I don't blame her for saying that. But at the same point,
you've got to feel sorry for the mate.
Imagine the wedding pictures. Imagine, like,
oh no.
I mean, obviously, for a grown adult to do that, there's probably something wrong. But that man's never living this down, and it got a news article with his picture in it, so he's always going to be known. Go for a job interview. You're the man that shit himself at a wedding.
I'm going to be honest with you now. I've got a life story, as it were, and 2 packets just flew on the floor. Yeah, sorry about that. I've got a life story to share with everyone. I was coming home, I think it was from work, I'm not too sure, and I was catching a bus into Blackburn. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I have no quarrels in being extremely forward. I've got a mild form of autism. I've got Asperger's syndrome. Now, it affects me on a daily basis, on day-to-day life. And one of those little quirks, I want to call it, for lack of a better terminology, I struggle using public toilets. For some reason, my subconscious somewhere, it's welded that it is unhygienic. Well, on this memorable journey back into Blackburn Town Centre, I can't remember what I had to eat that day, but I remember consuming a substantial amount of energy drinks. And I was on the bus. I'll never forget the exact location where the bus was. It was passing Audley. No, it wasn't. It couldn't have been. It was just leaving the Accrington area. So, you know, there's like countryside between Accrington and Blackburn that the bus passes. Well, I was round there, and I was sat behind a bar, you know, where the stop sign usually is welded into.
Yeah.
I was sat behind that, and I was clutching onto this bar because I needed to go to the toilet, and I needed to relieve myself. And in my head, the original plan was to get home. I wasn't going home, boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen of the jury.
Are you sure you want this story out there? Like,
I do. I mean, to say...
this could ruin. You know, once this is out there, it is out there.
I am an incredibly forward guy. So this woman, bless her heart, is sat at the opposite side of the bus, and she's looking at me quite fearfully because all she's seeing is this man in his mid-20s. I'm 6'2", ladies and gentlemen. I'm over 200 pounds. Clutching onto this bar, she probably thought I was turning into the Incredible Hulk, and I'll tell you why, because the hand that was clutching onto the bar was turning red. And I'm pulling the most bizarre facial expression going, and I'm like, obviously I know the listeners can't see me, but I'm showing Tom
like proper like gritting your teeth, puffing out your cheeks almost.
Yeah, like, pretty much. And this woman looked traumatized. Anyway,
next door, grabbing a bar.
Safe to say, the bus arrived at the bus station. Well? I ran like I never ran before. I ran into the Blackburn Mall. And there was a large hustle and bustle of people, especially outside the Primark area. For those who live in Blackburn, you'll know what I'm talking about. And they was all huddled, and I said, "Get out the way!" And I kid you not, it was like Moses parting the sea. They moved because I must have said it fairly loud. I managed to get to the toilet, but because my autism, because I have Asperger's syndrome, it was playing holy hell with me because I had to use a public toilet. The end. And I felt so embarrassed afterwards because I used a public toilet.
You just went off on a tangent for like 5 minutes about nearly shit. This shows the level of what our podcast will be. Anyway,
pretty much.
We're getting to the end now. We're going to wrap it up.
Okay, fair enough.
So yeah, if anyone has enjoyed this and listened to this, please listen next. We promise we will get better. Yeah. Like less.
This is the pilot.
This is the pilot. So if you even slightly enjoyed this, listen to our second one, and maybe our third one and our fourth. See how you goes. So this is the end. This is
pretty much, man.
Expect this every Saturday.
Yes, it'd be like at the first treat of the weekend. Something to look forward to if you enjoy these type of conversations.
Or if you just want to walk to work during the week. You've got a week to watch it or listen to it.
My name's Anthony Irvine, and I've been Dancing Bear.
I'm Tom, and I'm Koala.
I hope you enjoyed, and I hope to see you next week.
See you next week. Bye.
Bye. Bye-bye.